Okay. Well, good morning. Here we're live with. I'm sorry, I forgot. Didn't even write your name down. Go ahead and
That's,
introduce yourself. I'm sorry. I
I mean,
changed your information.
now we're starting this off that I'm not even remotely important.
Yes, you are
I'm
very important.
joking.
That's why you are on the Adams Brothers podcast. But go ahead and
Joshua
introduce
Rydell.
yourself, Joshua
Rydell.
Rydell. I'm sorry.
No, I'm giving you a hard time. I'm glad you guys were able to
No
invite
problem
me,
at
and I
all.
know that you're doing with some of the other candidates. And listen, I think the most important thing with whatever you're trying to do is just educating people. I think
Absolutely.
any election, any service type based field, I think educating people is good. But listen, my name is Joshua Rydell. I am a candidate in this race for Broward County State Attorney on the Democratic ticket. I'm running for Broward County State Attorney. I also happen to be the Vice Mayor of the city of Coconut Creek, one of our municipalities, one of our fine 31 municipalities in Broward County.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for introducing yourself, and I do have your name down right now, Joshua Rydell, and I won't forget you. I promise you. So I know your time is very precious. So let me go ahead and ask you my first question. I only have like 3 questions for you. The first one is, what are your goals for reducing prison overcrowding?
I mean, that's a loaded question. I could talk, I don't know how much time you want, but I'll give you the reality to this.
Yes.
I have a unique perspective in this election cycle. I'm in a very crowded race that I'm running in, but I'm also the only person in this race that has actually never been a prosecutor. I'm a former public defender, and I'm a longtime criminal defense attorney. So when you talk about plans for reducing our incarcerated populations, there's 2 ways we got to look at it. We got to look at going back, and we got to look at moving forward, because we have over-incarcerated people in Broward County for far too long for marginal offenses being conviction-based. So we got to look and say, hey, not only how are we going to fix what we've done in the past, how are we going to help our returning citizens and build people up, not tear them down, but moving forward, how are we going to not send more people to prison? And the answer to that is easy. We're going to, day one, the culture changes, and I'm a big believer in positive thinking. So when we win, right, we're going to change the culture, not something that's conviction-based. Still to this day, our current state attorney has on his website, when you look at his bio, the same bio that he's had for probably 44 years, that he's prided himself on consistently maintaining one of the highest conviction rates in the state of Florida. That spawns the problem of over-incarcerating your populations, specifically your poor populations and your minority populations. So that ends. We're not going to be conviction-based. We're going to be solution-based. We're going to be trying to fix crime, not just punish it, with the understanding that it's really easy to punish dangerous people. But a majority of people that we're punishing in Broward County aren't dangerous and need help to get out of the system, which I think we through some creative, innovative, and forward-thinking measures will be able to do.
Right, absolutely. And you also have a lot of people that's incarcerated right now for, just minor offenses, like, maybe it got caught with a joint or civil citation, or, it's just little things that, that they shouldn't have even been in jail for. They should have just, wrote them a citation and a notice to appear in court. So like to see that happen, and ease the overcrowding at the jail. That's definitely a biggie here that we need to do.
Well, Daryl, let me just tell you, this is a story from this week. I had a young man, it was his first offense, and he was put on probation. He violated his probation a month and a half ago because he wasn't home when he was supposed to be. The judge put him in jail. He's been in jail since June 12th, and I just got him out of jail. So today's what? August 7th? So this was a young man who had a job, who was living with his girlfriend, had an apartment, was paying rent, gets locked up for really a reason that to me could have been dealt with entirely differently, loses that job, loses the apartment, and he's wrapped up back in a cycle. That's the problem. That's just a sliver of a day in the life of what I've done for 15 years. So I see it like a Mack truck to the face about how we can fix this system.
Right. Okay. Thank you for answering that question.
But you're right. Everything you just said, you're absolutely right.
Thank you. Wayne?
Okay, Joshua. Have you ever been disciplined or referred to the Florida Bar Association for a complaint?
I want to say maybe once in my entire career, when I was a public defender. I want to say, I got to think back on that, because I think the only time I received a bar complaint was, now, just so you know, I'm going to educate you on the grievance process. I actually just recently finished a term as the chair of a grievance committee chair, so overseeing when lawyers get complaints filed on them. So anybody can complain. It automatically goes to a response phase that's not required to be disclosed, and it never goes on it. I've never been found to do anything wrong, but I believe there was one complaint that was made many years ago that was ultimately found as unfounded. And I think when I was a public defender, and it had to do with a gentleman that took a plea but then was trying to get out of it. It was, probably 13, 14 years ago.
Okay. What will you do as Broward County State Attorney that will differentiate you from Michael Satz?
I mean, I laugh, and I laugh because if Joshua Rydell is elected, I am the antithesis of what has gone on in this county for 44 years. Listen, I've never, a big criticism of me personally in this race, in this election, has been how on earth, experience matters. That's what they say. Years of experience. Listen, I am outside the box. I am not from the state attorney's office. I haven't worked there. I have not been indoctrinated with the principles that have guided that office for decades. Do I think Mike Satz is a man that has followed his edict and what he believes his life work to be? Yes, I'm different. I'm forward thinking. And I don't view the job merely as just prosecuting people. What this county has not had ever in over 4 decades is a leader in the criminal justice system that has brought people together, that has gone to municipalities and said, hey, Deerfield Beach, hey, Sunrise, what do you need? What do your communities need? How can I help you fix them? Go to the county commission and say, hey, we need money for substance abuse. We need money for mental health. We need corporate partners for returning citizens. This is, it's easy to talk the talk. It's easy to have the sound bites, but actually injecting funding into the criminal justice system to start solving problems is what I believe differentiates me from every other candidate in this race, and also is what's going to night and day differentiate me from Mike Satz.
Okay. And being that you said, you spoke with Mike Satz, and I asked you a question about him. Would you rate his performance so far in his 40-something years as state attorney?
Well, when he took office, it was in 1976. That was about 4 or 5 years before I was born. So I may not have been able to justify the 70s or the 80s. I can assess the performance in the past. That would be probably 15 years. I was in the building in the courthouse before. Listen, I've seen the trend of aggressive drug prosecutions that in Broward County, if you sold crack cocaine, you sold a gram of crack cocaine. The standard offer when I started in the Broward County Public Defender's Office was 18 months in Florida State Prison, specifically. So I mean, and I've watched that shift too slow. We're still way behind in the times. So and I'm not one to judge harshly others. I don't build people down. I build people up. I don't tear them down. So do I believe that we've missed the mark in this county for too long? Yes, I do.
Okay, and if elected state attorney, would you be a more vocal, active leader in the community and visible? As I asked other candidates, Catherine Fernandez is always on TV.
Well, first of all, I don't think TV, in all fairness, I don't think TV means anything. I think doing a press conference is an ego builder that you want people to hear you speak. I think being in the community, really being in a community is a lot different because you're not getting media attention for that. You're not getting media attention going to a city commission meeting and talking to elected officials and leaders of what they need. You're not getting media attention to go to a church and say, hey, you want to start a mentorship program here for some of the local kids? Going to the county commission and saying, hey, I want you guys to repave basketball courts so we can actually start some after school programs and start keeping kids out of the juvenile justice system. I mean, so getting in the community, I've been doing that. I've been doing that work in Coconut Creek and our neighboring cities. I look forward to continuing doing that work when I'm elected. And I think the job calls for it. But again, it's about what a community wants out of this job. If the community wants somebody that's going to aggressively prosecute every single violation of the letter of the law, I am not the guy. I am the guy, if you want to be forward thinking, you want real change, you want safer communities, you want to build everyone up, no matter where they're from, what they look like, how much money they make, or their lifestyle choices.
Okay, Daryl.
Okay, Josh, if you were elected state attorney, would you support civilian oversight of law enforcement?
So that's a loaded question. Am I open to citizens being involved in the criminal justice system? Yes, but
Yes.
I think we've also missed the mark on this misbelief of how we've judged law enforcement in general. Let me explain that to you. The only countywide voice that has ever been established in Broward County's history in criminal justice has been the Sheriff's Department, right? There's a flaw there. And the flaw is our largest municipalities, our 5 largest municipalities are all policed by their own municipal police departments. So let's think about that for a second. Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Coral Springs, Pembroke Pines, Sunrise, Miramar, what do they all have in common? Their own police departments. And those police departments and those communities know what they need better than everybody. So would I advocate on what communities want? The answer is yes. Does the sheriff have a countywide voice that they've talked about at the county commission? You know, some of these oversight boards, yes, but oversight boards could be done in 2 ways. It could be done in a way that it really means nothing and it's just for show. It could be done in a way that if you don't have professional standards on people that are engaged in the process, it doesn't help as well. So I'm all for transparency. So, you know, we can talk about it in capsulized term of, you know, civilian oversight. I'm for transparent government. I mean, when I got elected in a city, I'm transparent. I talk to people. We post things on Facebook. We have a website that you can click on and learn things. You can't do that now. And that's the issue in this disconnect with where we've become in law enforcement right now. Because I want to say it's a disconnect, because is there an issue in communities? Absolutely. But is it something that we could overcome, build together successfully? Yes, as well. So I guess to answer your question, which I kind of did and I kind of didn't, I'm a big fan of transparency. And I don't think we have that right now in any level of government, which is why we're seeing the social outcries we're seeing.
Okay, that's a follow-up, Josh. What are your thoughts on a statewide and national police misconduct database?
So the answer is it's a great idea. The problem is the implementation of the idea. And here's why. Can I support something like that everyone should be accountable? Yeah, but that is not just for cops. It's for doctors. It's for nurses. It's for teachers. It's for government workers. It's for elected officials. I mean, we should be much more transparent as a society, not just in law enforcement, but everybody should be held to this standard. And the problem we've seen is it goes down to who can advocate the best. I mean, listen, I'm running for a Democratic seat. We're in a very red state right now with our current governor and our current climate, that you're not going to see something like that on a statewide level pass. It took a pandemic, not of COVID, of the opioid epidemic, for them even to start a database in the Florida system for people that are going and getting hundreds of pills from different doctors. So again, this concept, the talking point, yes, I fully support it, but we got to bring it back before do I support this principle of, hey, how are you going to do it, Josh? Well, I'm going to go to Tallahassee and I'm going to lobby for it. Well, we got to start educating elected officials about a litany of other issues in terms of the contracts they enter into, in terms of the bargaining agreements. We got to look at all of that. But I believe through transparency and actually having a conversation, not an adversarial conversation, we'll be able to accomplish these goals. So the end talking point I can support. It's just, again, about how to get there to have true accountability. But I think it's not just, you see it with prosecutors. A prosecutor could get fired in one office here, and then the next thing you know, they're working in North Florida. As long as there was no bar complaint filed, we'll go to that, and there's no trajectory, there's no issue. So there's so many issues on what I believe on so many professions. And traditionally, Florida has been the haven of doctors that have lost their medical licenses in other states, yet they come here and practice successfully in a state that doesn't even require malpractice insurance, which is the scariest thing of them all. So yes, I'm very with you on this concept, but I see it as we have real work to do, but the conversation, we have to bring it back a little bit and say, hey, how do we start? Oh, I just knocked something off the desk. We say, how do we start the conversation? And it starts here with bringing everyone to the table, which we have not done in Broward's history, I don't think.
And that's all we want. We want accountability. I think that's what the people want. And they don't want to see a bad police officer get fired in one city and go a few miles up the road and get a job as a police officer and with no accountability, you know. So I think that's what the people want and they're looking for.
You know what, this is a saying I heard when we're talking about all these social justice issues, legitimately. There's no one that hates a bad cop more than a good one. I mean, you guys have both had backgrounds in government. And I don't know, I'm not making that public, but just on the conversations before this started, I mean, there's good, caring law enforcement officers out there.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Okay, and they're under a front right now, and I see that because it's a problem, but it's a problem because we become so adversarial. I mean, I got good cops in my city, and I'm not going to stand and say I don't. I would never do that to the men and women that keep cities safe. But are there bad apples? There's bad apples in everything, but we don't focus on that right now. But it's just about, again, transparent government and bringing real conversations, not just these feel-good, touchy conversations, but real conversations with action plans, implementing and moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Wayne?
And Joshua, you spoke of transparency a few moments ago about transparency and accountability should be for everyone. And I wholeheartedly agree to that. Well, do you think the Sunshine Law is too weak or it needs to be strengthened and more open?
Okay, so here's my position on the Sunshine Law. It's all about how you determine how you subject it to determination, really. Like, what do you say it is? So we have the largest open records law in the entire country. As a defense attorney down here, I'm entitled to more documents than I am entitled anywhere else. So we have a really open government system down here. The problem is what does it mean to you? Well, in the city of Coconut Creek, you can go to my website in the city, you can go to the government's website, and you can find out where we spend every single dollar. You could figure out what we're spending in utilities and engineering, what we're spending on law enforcement, what we're spending on parks and recreation programs. Every dollar is accounted for. Every expenditure is done. You can go to the state attorney's office right now on their website, and I think they have a total of like 7 pages. No, like total. You can only click on 7 different things. So that's not transparent. So we need real transparency in government. So, we need to be I should be able to go on a website right now and say, hey, how many people were convicted of drug crimes last month in Broward County? How many people of those people were black? How many fines were paid in the system? I should be able to look that up. I should be able to look at the areas that have high crime versus the areas that we don't have that capability. I'd have to go to the Broward County Clerk's office, do some data requests, hire a team of people to do data analysis. Now, does that data exist? Of course it does, but it's not open to the public. So I take the view of a very liberal view of the Sunshine Law, that it means put government in the sun. And I've implemented that in my own professional career in civil service, but we don't see that in certain bodies of government. And we need to change that. So the answer is, I think the Sunshine Law is great. It's just about how it's utilized. Like they teach you in law school. I remember my law school professor, I was sitting in for contracts. And the first thing she says to me, I'm a brand new law student, I'm my first year, is, all right, everybody, we're going to learn contracts. Does anyone know what that means? And no one was really raising their hand. I wasn't the kid that raised his hand that first day. And then one of the girls in the front row, she raised her hand. And she goes, yeah, we're going to learn how to write them. And, we can implement them. And she goes, no, we're going to learn how to get out of them. And then when you think about that, that's what the whole course was. Issues and contracts of people that had breaches and things of that nature. But that's how I share that fact, because that's a simple thing on who would have thought a law school professor, day one of meeting a class, would have said, I'm going to teach you how to get out of contracts. But that's what I think the criminal justice system needs. I think the criminal justice system needs somebody that's going to think outside the box and make people think differently. And that's why I'm here. That's the only reason I'm in this election, because I believe I can do that and keep us safer while I'm doing it.
Okay, and a follow-up question too, when you was talking about racial justice and everything. How would you address the problem of racial disparities in the criminal justice system, in the state attorney's office, and the perception of racial bias.
Well, first off, I want to correct you on something. I don't think it's a perception. It's real. So I don't think it's a perception. I've been in that courthouse every day for 15 years. I walk into a felony courtroom, and most days, every single person in custody is Black. So that's not a perception. That's a reality. That's what I see. So I think it's about how to deal with it. And then we got to look at how we deal with policing. That's the real issue. How are we going to deal with policing? How are we going to deal with certain communities that we have that traditionally have been targeted as high crime areas? How do we build those communities up? So the first thing is acknowledging there's a problem, which there is. So, but that hasn't been acknowledged for years and years and years. I've seen it for years and years and have tried to call it out, but I haven't had the ability to be a policymaker for change. I've been able to effectuate change in a city of 60,000 people, but that's not a county of 2 million people. So the answer is the first step, yes, we have a problem. Second step, how do we address it? We have to analyze our sentencing practices. We have to, and it goes back to the point I made in the very beginning of this conversation. We have to make up for the past. So we are only going to continue to repeat the cycles we have by over-incarcerating populations that we have traditionally done for the past 20 years. So I can still walk into a courtroom with a client who deserves a break, and they go, nope, he had 10 felonies 10 years ago. He's going to prison. Whoa. Paid his debt. It had a little hiccup now. Let's talk about that. He actually has become a productive member of society. Let's address that. But we've never, again, thought like that. People for too long have been deemed less than because of their past.
Okay, thank you, Daryl.
Josh, have you always been a Democrat? And if not, when did you change your party affiliation and why?
I think I was birthed as a Democrat. So I scoff. I don't mean that. I was. Yes, I've been a Democrat my entire life. So I didn't change parties ever.
Okay, Wayne.
And my whole family's a bunch of Democrats too. So I'm originally from Buffalo. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. We're from a very blue collar section of New York. It's not like New York City or Long Island or somebody. It's Buffalo, where it's a blue collar town. And that's where my family was, born, raised, bred from. And I am a Bills fan. Got to be careful saying that down here. But I get it. I'm a Bills fan, and I remember the Jim Kelly, Dan Marino rivalry days. But I think anyone who likes football remembers those days. Those are the heydays of both teams, really. But yes, I'm a true lifelong Democrat and a family of lifelong Democrats.
Well, we asked this question because a lot of Broward County is a Democratic county. It's mostly Democratic, and the people in Broward County tend to vote Democratic. And we have a lot of politicians that come here and as a Republican or independent or whatever, and then they end up changing their party affiliation because they know that Broward County is a heavily Democratic county. So that's one of the reasons why we asked that question to not just you, but all of the candidates, because some people, they try and slip in under the radar and, say that they're Democrat and they're really a Republican or, vice versa, So that's why we ask you that question.
Well, listen, let me tell you this. Just because someone has a D next to their name in this county, it doesn't mean anything.
No, it sure don't.
I'm just kidding. I'm gonna be straight with you on that, because
you're absolutely right.
Because there's a couple layered issues here, okay? And I'll tell you this, because since 2013, I've been a Democratic precinctman for the party. So that means I have a little area that I'm in charge where I live to motivate voters in the Democratic primaries. And I've activated for years. They call me, they tell me to do things, and I do it. The reality is we're in a county where a lot of people may have a letter next to their name, but again, I don't think it means anything. I think people that stole real democratic values, that are not afraid to stand up for democratic, candidates, really put themselves out there, that aren't going to help, other partisan offices. Listen, people in this election, for the state attorney, they say that the state attorney's office shouldn't be partisan. Now, do I agree that partisan politics shouldn't affect the implementation of the job? Sure. A Democrat shouldn't get a better deal than a Republican. That's as much as I agree with that. Do I agree that a state attorney needs to be partisan and truly partisan? Yes, I do. And I'm going to back that up because we have a state attorney in Palm Beach County that has been in the ground. He goes to he lobbies, he stands up for real Democratic candidates, real Democratic principles on the front lines. We've never had that in Broward County, never. And we need it. And we don't need somebody getting elected that may have the letter next to their name, but will not stand up for real Democratic values.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Across the board. I'm talking about all these, there's a lot of other offices that are very important too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we don't want that wolf in hiding, under, the sheep skin there to try and sneak in and, as a Democrat or Republican, whatever. We want to know, have you always been a Republican? Or have you always been a Democrat? And
the answer is I always have. And I will tell you the other thing. I do believe this. I do believe people can see the light. and let me give you the little background on that. There's a very dear friend of mine. He doesn't live here. I went to college with my college roommate. When we got to college, he was what I would call a crazy Republican. But he was that way because of who his family was. But when we got to school together and we started learning and educating, he now lives in Manhattan, has a job, has a wife, has a kid. He volunteers more time to partisan Democratic politics. He donates money. He went on the front lines from it. So I do believe there's an other side of that coin. Do I think people that play that game, you got to be wary of? Yes. But do I believe people can find the light? Absolutely, I do. And I'm happy to have that discourse, because I will tell you this. I think that in the partisan world we live in, things are too partisan. They really have become too partisan. And somebody said this to me. We can have 100 things that we're talking about, and I could be with the staunchest Republican, and I'm a staunch Democrat, and we could agree probably on 90 things. It's the 10 we don't agree on that we will never agree on. But those 10 things are all we can focus on. We can't focus on let's fix the other 90. And that's why we got to be able to be creative and be solution minded.
Good example, Josh. That's all the questions I have for you, Wayne, Josh and Wayne.
Okay, Josh, I got one more question. Have you ever accepted any money from the police union?
Yes.
Okay.
Early on in this campaign, I was endorsed by a police union, and early on in the campaign, we accepted donations. Again, do I believe there's a conversation to be had there more? I mean, I could have shied away from it. I could have shouted from the rooftops. I believe we need to work together with people. And I think I've raised, $290,000 in this race, and a police union gave me $1,000 contribution. So okay. Just because, and like I've said to everybody, I've raised a lot of money, but that doesn't dictate who I am, the job I'll do, or anything about me ethically, period.
Okay, I got one more question, and then we're going to be running out of time. I'd like for you to wrap it up. You familiar with the Breonna Taylor case?
In terms of which part of it?
The no-knock warrant.
You're talking about no-knock warrants. You're talking about the investigation.
The no-knock warrant and the tactics that was used to get the warrant. I wanted to just ask you, if that happened here, one of your prosecutors or the police falsely obtained a warrant using false information, and after they, did the knock the door down and someone shot back, would you prosecute that person?
Are you talking like specific? Are we talking hypothetical? Listen.
Hypothetically, if someone did a false warrant for my house, and upon entering my house under false pretenses, I shoot back. That's what happened in the Breonna Taylor.
I'm very familiar factually with the case.
And he was charged at first.
Here's how I'm going to answer that.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is yes. I mean, I'll say, let's say in a hypothetical world, if someone violates the law, do I have a problem holding anybody accountable? The answer is no. I don't have a problem holding anybody accountable. But the other problem that a lot of people are getting in this is, again, it goes to the soundbite. It's the soundbite of doing a conversation like this, saying, if I will prosecute any of this. Listen, it's really easy. I believe this. I believe it's really easy in this business to see right from wrong. I've been in criminal defense for 15 years. I can tell you who the bad people are, and I can tell you who the good people are, and I can tell you the people we can keep out of the system that just need a little extra help. I see it. It's not difficult to go after the bad people that we all see and can all acknowledge, even more so when it's on video or cell phone. So Wayne, do I agree? Yeah. I mean, I have no problem holding anybody accountable. That's what I believe is the easy part of the job. And I believe being able to stand up and explain day one why you're doing something or why you're not doing something is a mandate of this job. And I look forward to embracing it. Whether everyone embraces every decision, I'm not going to make everybody happy. But I will tell you this, I will always do what's right.
Okay, and we have probably about less than about 3 minutes remaining, Joshua. Can you tell us, what would you tell the voters of Broward County to elect you in about 3 minutes?
All right. That's more time than I usually get. I was going to ask you guys a question, but I'll save that for the end. Listen, I am not a prosecutor. People have said that makes me unqualified for the job, or I should have ran for public defender. I think that is the largest untrue statement, and I think people misinterpret what Broward County needs now. What Broward County needs now is an innovator. What Broward County needs now is someone's going to step up and bring people to the table, and not just bring people to the table, but deal with issues like substance abuse and mental health and education. The first time somebody sees a prosecutor should be in a classroom, not a courtroom. Somebody that's going to be able to go to municipalities and the county and earmark money for all those issues that have to do with criminal justice. Someone that's going to go to Tallahassee to try to fix bad laws. Someone that can go to cities and say, hey, you know what? You have a blighted area. You have a crime area in the city. How can we help you fix it and build bridges to fix things? I'm the only candidate that can do that. I have pride. I am an open book. And I ask people to vote for me because you will get a couple things. You will get transparency. You will get accountability. You will get ethical, justice-based prosecutions, and you will no longer have a conviction-focused office. And I believe when we start injecting real resources into the criminal justice system, we will not only keep our communities safer, but we will take out some of the major issues that have ravaged Broward County through racial disparities, through unfair sentencing practices, and for literally throwing people away. But understand, moving forward, we have to not just look forward, we have to look back. We've been devastated, and lives that have been devastated by a revolving system. And it's easy to keep us safe. But also what we have to do is move forward on creative prosecutions. Our current state attorney's office doesn't have an aggressive, they don't even have a cyber crimes unit. I mean, we're going to have millions of people that are going to be senior citizens soon in the county. And the state attorney's office recently just got a second prosecutor. We need to refocus on what really keeps us safe. And I look forward to doing that. I'm an open book. For those that are watching this, you can reach out to me on Facebook. You can call me. I got my number everywhere. And I will tell you this, regardless of how this race turns out, this election turns out, this isn't the last you've seen of me, because I am committed. I was here before, and I'm going to be here after. So listen, I have one question for the two of you before it runs out. Can I?
Yes.
Is the podcast, is it political driven? Is it community driven? We talked before about what you guys have done professionally. I'm just curious, this passion project, where does it come from? Can I ask that? Can I ask a question?
Community driven, just to empower the Black voters, the community. We're trying to reach out and just empower our community more, Joshua.
Then you know what? You're doing a great job, and I would like to continue supporting anything you ever need, because I think this defines transparency. You're bringing real, transparent, unscripted conversations to the forefront, and we need, frankly, more of it.
We're the new Black media. That's what I call ourselves.
But this county needed that a decade ago. And we're lucky now that maybe COVID showed one thing, and I see the time clock clicking.
Yes.
COVID showed us one thing, that anybody has a voice. Anybody could engage digitally. You don't need mainstream media behind you anymore. You just need to create a following, and you can actually reach people to educate them. So I give you both credit on this endeavor, and regardless, stay in touch with me. I welcome it. And
Thank
Wayne,
you.
you have my cell phone number, so you
Yes.
can share it with Daryl. And if I could ever do anything for you guys, regardless, this election's going to be done in 9 days anyway. Call me.
Absolutely, Josh. We really appreciate it, and I've heard some good things about you. I didn't have your name written down on my paper, and I do apologize for that. But I've heard so many good things about you, and we want to thank you for coming on the Adams Brothers podcast. And we'd like you, even when you win, we'd like for you to come back, like you said, and talk to us. And if any way we can help you, we're just a phone call or email away. We'd be more than happy to.
I appreciate it, guys. Just keep doing the good work. And we're a little longer than we anticipated, but I look forward to doing it again. If I could ever be a resource in any capacity, use me. I mean it.
Okay.
Joshua Rydell, he's running for Broward County State Attorney. And again, thank you for stopping by the Adams Brothers podcast, and good luck to you, sir.
Good
Thank
luck.
you, guys. Thank you so much. Be well and stay safe.
You too.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Well, I'll be an early voter.
I'll be there tomorrow.